Today's daf is daf Chav Zayin Amid Aleph. We're actually up to Chavav on the very bottom of the page. Says the Gemara. Amar Shmuel. Shmuel said, if you have two women to marry, and the question is which one, I guess, you should marry, or which one has less issues than the other one, is Yisa Adam. It's better a person to marry Duma, a woman that there are rumors about that perhaps she is promiscuous and more, and perhaps she committed adultery while she's married. While Yisa Bas Duma, but do not marry the daughter of that woman. And why not? This Duma, the rumors are about herself, but she comes from kosher tipidova. She comes from yichus. The Zuba metipa psula. But the daughter that doesn't have any rumors about her, but she comes from a mother that is questionable. You know who the real father is, and so on, and how she behaved and misbehaved. So generally, it's an interesting question. To paraphrasing what the question is, you have one person who comes from a very, very good family, but they themselves questionable or live a dubious life. Another person who does not come from a very good family at all, but she herself is a good person, and there are no rumors abounding about her. Which one? I guess is if you marry one of those, which is more preferred? So Shmuel says, better to marry the mother because Yichus comes from a good family, even though she herself is not behaving correctly. Rabbi Yechon says, no, Yisa the Bas Duma, better to marry the girl who she herself, there are no rumors abounding about her. But Yisa Duma, do not marry the mother. There were all kinds of rumors. Look at the girl herself. The girl herself is behaving properly. She has cheskes kasha, so therefore we go with her. What about the fact that her father might not even be her father or something? We have a general rule that even her mother didn't behave correctly, but in all probability, her father would have been her real father because the mother spent most of the time with her husband. It says clearly in the Braisa that a person should marry a Duma. So we see clearly from here that not like Rabbi Yechon, but like Shmuel, better that you should marry the woman that there are rumors about because she comes from good stock. Amar says, Rabbi, you think the Braisa is correct? That the Braisa is telling you to marry such a person? You should marry neither one. Just marry an ordinary person who comes from a good family and they behave correctly as well. But let me ask you, it must be an error in the Braisa. Can't be that the Chatchila should go ahead and get married. Elim Nasa. No, but you're going to have to add a few words to say that the Braisa is talking about if you're married, it's all right. So therefore, once you're amending the Braisa, amend it again and say not Duma, but the Bas Duma. No, we're talking about the daughter of the Duma. The girl herself is behaving correctly, and that's the one that you should pursue. The Hilchos Halach is like Rabbi Yechon, Yisa Adam Bas Duma. It's better to marry a person and look at their own character, Yisa Duma, and do not look at just and do not marry the Duma whose only quality is that she comes from good stock. What about herself? That's more important. Isha Mizana, a woman was Mizana, nevertheless, but we're going to assume that her children are not Mamzerim. Why is that? Because Rebilas Achrabah. Most of her intimacy at the end of the day still would have been with her own husband. Boy, Rabbi Amram has a question. What about a woman to be excessively promiscuous? Do we still assume that the children came from the husband, or what happens then? Says the Gemara. Now, there's an argument in the Gemara. When is a woman most prone to fall pregnant? Is it around the time of when her period, which is about to menstruate, or is it around the time when she goes to the mikveh? Doesn't mean only those times, but generally speaking, as Faces explains. So I'll leave it on the one that says Einishim Sabet is also a best. A woman only falls pregnant roughly around the time when she menstruates. Well, if this is a woman that does not have a fixed cycle, so the husband doesn't really know when that time period is. He doesn't know how to monitor and make sure that she is home with him during that period. So then we are worried that the children might be born out of wedlock. He can watch it. The question is that a woman generally falls pregnant around the time when she goes to the mikveh. Mine. What do we say then? Even the Yodaba, since he knows exactly when she goes to the mikveh, so therefore the Tudi Mintula, he'll hopefully make sure that she stayed home then. So therefore there won't be any chash. Oh, he did. We'll keep him the fruits of Yosef. Of course, he's excessively powerful. He doesn't really have any control. So therefore, we can be should suspect that maybe the children are mamzerim. Teku remains the question. Says the Gemara, the following should Bezin steps in if they see that the husband is not available, he's deaf or whatever, and he's not available, and he cannot in any way, warn his wife. They'll step in and they'll warn his wife, not that she will drink. Not in fact, even the husband is released from prison, for example, he cannot give her to drink based on the warning of the bezin, but at least they can force her to forfeit her. And another opinion of the mission is that no, that the husband, when he comes out, steps outside, he can actually make her drink based on the warning of the bezin, and if she then is in isolation with that person after the husband comes out, he can make her drink. Says the Gemara, we learn. Says the Pasuk, ish, says twice ish. Matamlam ish is the person whose wife goes astray. The rabbi is to teach you, ish is cheder, the wife of somebody who's deaf and dumb. The ish is shaita, or the wife of a shaita. Ish is the wife of somebody who is beyond the shaita. Shahala Bailan is a yam when he went overseas, or Shahaya Chabir Sunnah when she's incarcerated. She doesn't become the poison of the Shalosh. Bezin steps in, warns her, and she forfeits her ksuba if she continues this behavior. Yachav thought Aflash Kaisa, and that once the husband can give it to drink, Tamalaimer, the heavy her ish as ish toilet. Not the Bezin can do it, only the husband can bring the wife to drink. The Rabbi Yosef says, Aflash Kaisa, the husband comes out of jail, he can actually give her to drink based on the Bezin's warning. And when he goes out of jail, he can actually make a drink. But my community, what's the argument? The husband can rely on that kina or not. We need the kina. We need that the very same person who gives the warning is the very same person. The same person, the one who brings his wife to drink. And we do not need that the kine of the person who is mikana should be the one to bring the wife. Could be the bezin that gives the warning, and the husband can bring it to bezin. Come and let's learn. It says in Pasuk that these are the laws that I should teach the isha, tachas isha, that a woman went astray while she was married to her husband and becomes tamei. And we said before, the hakajish isha tell you to equate a woman to a man to a woman. What respect? Amar of Sheishes, we learn din of a man from a woman from a man. Sheishes says, if he would have been blind, he cannot give it to drink. It says the nela me'eni isha, that it was concealed from his eyes, which means he could have seen, but he didn't. He im ha'isa sumah, so to she. We learn her from him that if she was blind, laha'isa sheisha didn't drink. Ravashi says the other way around. Also, we learn. I'm going to explain it. Kishem shechigedes, if she was limping, begidemis or amputee, laha'isa sheisha wouldn't drink. See, it has a positive. The hemid hakoyin as the issue of Hashem, stand her up. So therefore, the hemid, she has to be able to stand on both her feet, and so too. The nurse like a place in her hand, she must have hands. Kachu, so to him, if he was limping, or if he was an amputee and he didn't have a hand, is over there, is lohe mashke. He couldn't give her to drink. Marbar of Ashi says, Kishem she'ilemis. Marbar of Ashi says, just like somebody's mute, Loisa Shaisa wouldn't drink. She has to be able to say, respond, Amen, Amen. So that he was mute, he cannot give it a drink. Hadan Allah Arusa. We are now up to the next page. Says the mother, the fifth page. Till now we discussed the woman. What about the adulterer? The other person was involved. Does he walk away scot-free? So the Mishnah tells us here, and just a little introduction, as Rashi says over here, that this discussion over here, there's going to be an argument over here where we learn out certain things, which psukim, and this is all resolved by Oisa Hayom. So Rashi says, whenever it says Oisa Hayom, this is the story having about brachas, about Rabbi Gamliel, because he humiliated Rabbi Yeshua on a number of occasions. The Talmidim had enough, and they impeached him, and they decided to place Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah as the supreme Nasi. So later on, they brought him back and they had to share. Gamliel had to share with Elazar his position. And that day, Oisayim, they opened up the base of Medrash. Because prior to Gamliel had this thing that it has to be Teicha Kebara, that your inside had to reflect your outside, and your outside reflect the inside. You had to be somebody who was reading, in essence, just truth. And Elazar said, we don't have to have an Ivy League school. On that day, he opened up and they added 400 benches. Every benches had so many more Talmidim, and many, many things were resolved that weren't resolved previously. Chidush asks, the guard at the door of the yeshiva in Rabbi Gamliel's times, that only students who were Teicha Kebara were accepted. How did the world of the guard know to judge a student, to determine whether this student is Teicha Kebara or not? How did it work? So he said, Yitaka didn't. They locked the doors. But anyone who was Teicha Kebara would break the lock of the door, jump through the window in order to learn. And that was the test. If Teicha Kebara, then they would break through the door, and if they didn't bother, that means they're not Teicha Kebara. Now they weren't so sincere about learning Torah. Like Hillel, wearing Maryuma, that he put his life in jeopardy so that he can learn Torah. Says the Gemara, the next Mishnah, Kishem Shamayim Boy Kenoisa, just like water. Investigates whether she's innocent or not, and there are consequences. The same thing applies to him. Who the Oisa is referring to? Are we talking about the husband, or we're talking about the adulterer? We'll soon see. She never says. It says the passage. One passage says "uva'u," the water, hamar, in the cursed water, and then it says "uva'u" again. We'll see later. It says again "uva'u." In another passage, it says, "And the woman will bring the water, the bitter waters, and this bitter water will come and do the job." Then there's another thing. We learn out that just like, how do we know that just like she's no longer living with her husband, if it's true, can no longer live also, nor can she marry then that adulterer. Remember, it says in Pasuk, Nitma, that this woman became Tameh, and then it says Vinitma. It actually says Vinitma. It's not clear. The Gemara will discuss tomorrow whether it's because it says twice the word Nitma or because it's the same word, but it could have said Nitma and it says Vinitma. You have a kiva. So it includes both. I'm going to show a kachir. There is chayiv and a katzah. In fact, this is exactly what you just said. It's chayiv and a katzah. Also, this extra vav. Now, Rebbe says, no, I don't learn from the extra vav. I learned. It says shnei pa'amim hamud and parshas twice. Nitma and nitma. Echad abav echad. It says two psukim. One is referring to the husband. She can no longer be the husband. The other one is referring to the adulterer. That day, boy b'yayim daughter shabakiva kirshadashin b'kleicheres. It says in pasuk that any kleicheres and then the parashmini earthenware asher yipol mehem, if a sheretz fell inside those 8 shrots el toicha inside. So we have an interesting law here that if the sheretz, for example, is suspended inside the clay sheretz, a unique halacha, the clay sheretz, the sheretz is an avatuma, the clay sheretz is the next generation becomes a rishon l'tuma, and the food contents in the pot, even though it's not touching, becomes a sheni l'tuma. So Akiva says, everything that's inside, the content, which is the sheni, says yitma. It doesn't say tameh that it becomes tameh yitma, which sounds like it's yitameh, metame others. Ain't no metame yitma. The tameh ached, it comes to teach you that a sheni can actually pass on to a shlishi. We hold that chulin, it only ends by a sheni, and by truma it goes one more generation. The shlishi will learn from kaluchema. But he's saying right now, the is saying that no, Shani makes a shlishi in all respects. A shlishi. Said, an interesting expression. I wish we can remove the dust from your eyes of Yechim Azaki, passed away already. You used to say, will come a generation that will say there's no such thing as a shlishi at all, in all circumstances. You said there's no possible Torah, and therefore Sheni is where it ends. Your student, maybe Lamika min Torah. Even Rabbi Kiva was not exactly the student of Rabbi Zakai, he was a student of Lezon Hercules, and Rabbi Shua, who were students of Rabbi Zakai, but we call them that, Shu Tameh. But nevertheless, it's such a high madrega, it's as if he was a direct student of Rabbi Zakai. She never says, so he learns that the Sheni makes a shlishi, whether it's chulu, whether it's truma. You said that there's no pasuk that says it goes beyond the Sheni. We only have a kalachayim to say that goes by truma as well. Baby Yem, talking about Baby Yem, another interesting issue. It says that by these 42 cities that we give the Ari Migdash, we give to the Levim, surrounding the city also, we give them some space, some parkland. And now the problem is that two psukim, one pasuk says if you give them 1,000 amis, parkland around the city. Another part says give him 2,000 amos. Which one is it? It says you should measure outside the city as past came on the east side, 2,000 amos. So one part says give 2,000 amos. But another part says from the wall of the city and the chutzula and beyond 1,000 amos all around. Now, so which one is it? To EF, so we can't say it's merely 1,000 amos of park space and open land. It says 2,000. We can't say 2,000 when 1,000. Okay, so what do? 1,000 amos is open space. And what's 2,000? The Alpayim amos Tchum Shabbos is. Here is the basis for the idea of Tchum Shabbos. We don't want you to walk beyond the environs of a city. And what's the environment of the city? The precept ends 2,000 amos beyond of the city. So this is the basis for Tchum Shabbos is Mahateg. Or one of them. And they remain another. Abelezer, the son of Rabbi Yosef Aglili, says, Elef Amma Migdash, Ba'alpayim Amma Sotah Daf. He said, no, 1,000 Amma is the open space, and the other 1,000 Amma is fields and vineyards that you gave to the Wait, we have another thing happened that day. What if it lamer? Hashem, and Yelem means to go and pass it on, pass it on. There's nothing, here doesn't mean to pass anything on. What do you mean by lamer? Melamed, Shayisro, the Eden was responding. Moshe said one thing and they responded the other part. I was going to say how, we'll see later exactly how it's done. Moshe Rabbeinu said part of a pasuk and they responded. We'll see later what their response was. Was it like a chorus, the same chorus, the same refrain, or was it something else? The Kachnema Lema says Lema. That they should respond back. That no, the way Shema said, the like is a how, not the way Howell said, we'll see more later. Another thing, maybe I'm going to have a Shub and Hurkness. Have a Shub and Hurkness Dashan, like Ovid Eve is like his Rocham Avid. That Eve, when he served Hashem, was based out of love. It says in the passage that Hain Yiktaleni, even if they try to kill me, I still hope for him. And nevertheless, I'm throwing way up. If he was anticipating it, not anticipating it, it says in the passage that Ad Egla la'osit to Muslim until he kills me, until I die, la'osit to Muslim, and I will never take away my faith and my belief in him. So he did it purely out of love. I'm going to say, same expression, I wish we took the dust off his eyes. She said, call your mecha, all your days, how did Eve serve Hashem? Only out of fear. Remember, it says, Ish tam the Yosha Yori Elikim. It says Ish Tam Yosha Yorikim V'Sormila, and he removed himself from evil. And now, so it says cool in the pasuk Yirei Yorikim, that he actually was a God-fearing person. V'Sorm B'Alo Yeshua Tam Tamidcha. You says Yori Shemai, that was Yorikim. Yeshua, the Talmud of a Talmud, not like Rabbi Kiva, who was a Talmud, but he called him Talmud because he was such a high level. Yeshua was on a lower level, so he was merely a Talmud of a Talmud of yours. Lomad, he said, Shema Avos, it was done out of love. See you tomorrow in Mitzvah Hashem.